Hello, everyone. This is Whitney Will from Starhearth Astrology, and today I'm here for my midweek check-in. Normally I do these check-ins on Instagram, but I'm still on my social media break from Instagram, so they are happening here. Today I'm going to be talking about kind of the current astro weather. These check-ins happen from Wednesday to Wednesday, so January 5th until January 12th, because I find that it's really helpful on Mercury Day at the middle of the week to just kind of check into the astro weather and use it to kind of ground ourselves for the coming week and use it to kind of orient ourselves towards the weekend. So a really easy way to do that you can just do in your everyday life is to check in with the moon. So when we check in with the moon, we find that she is waxing up from that new moon in Capricorn. Currently, as we're speaking, she is in Aries. So generally that gives us a little bit of pressure. We're looking to Mars to see what Mars is doing as the ruler of Aries. Mars is also in a fire sign in Sagittarius. So there's a lot of pressure for forward motion when the moon is in Aries. By this evening, she'll move into Pisces and she will enter her waxing crescent phase in Pisces. And so we'll kind of see, it'll become a little bit clearer, maybe what we're really working on, but Pisces also wants to kind of swallow the experience whole rather than just dive into it. Wait, no. Sorry. The moon is not in Aries. Okay, here's what I really want to talk about. Mercury went into the shadow of its retrograde, and there's so much Mercury retrograde stuff happening right now. I don't know if you're also feeling this in your life, but just wires getting crossed, plans getting canceled, delivery things changing. I always kind of forget how much in the pre-retrograde we really feel the stuff going on. Now, that might not be true for you. I think it's especially true for me because Mercury is in the shadow of its retrograde in Aquarius. Aquarius is my first house. It's an angular house. And so I am expecting, of all the Mercury retrogrades this year, which all start in the air signs and end in the earth signs, that it's going to be the Aquarius one is going to hit my chart the hardest because it's happening in an angular house. So for fixed sign risings, I think it'll be the Aquarius one that hits the hardest. For cardinal signs rising, I think it's going to be the Libra one that starts on September 9th that kind of hits the hardest. And for the mutable signs, it's going to be the Gemini one that happens in May. So that's kind of a way to check in. So I was so wrong. The moon is in Aquarius right now, right? Which would make a lot more sense. The moon is in Aquarius. It's about to head into Pisces. We are going to kind of feel the emotional impact of whatever has been happening a little bit more as we get into the week. Wednesday through Friday, when the moon is in Pisces, we kind of feel it. And then this weekend, want to kind of do something about it. So that's an easy way to check in. Now there's other things going on as well. We have a bunch of Neptune hits this week, and we have Venus sextiling Neptune today, Wednesday, and then we have the Sun sextiling Neptune on Monday, and then we have Mars and a square with Neptune on Tuesday. So the sextiles are nice. They are, I think, especially during the Venus retrograde. We have the Venus-Sun Cazimi this weekend. Really what we're looking at is a really good time for letting go, for forgiveness, for accepting ourselves honestly. Neptune can kind of help dissolve those boundaries or those barriers or those limits that we set for ourselves, which are very important. But, right, it's also very important that they go through a renewal process, and that's kind of where we are. Checking in on those. Do I need to limit myself in these ways? Do I need to hold on to this hurt or this pain or this attachment? Neptune can help us let go. Now, when Mars hits Neptune on Tuesday, that can be a little bit of a trickier one. They're in a square aspect. They're both in Jupiter's signs. So there's this kind of like, yes, let's all go ahead with what we're doing kind of feel to it. But we've got Mars in Sagittarius, very kind of pumped up on his own ideas. And when he hits the kind of confusion fog of Neptune, that can look like these kind of delusions of like, I'm going to go forward and do what I'm doing. And I'm not really checking to make sure that it's the right thing. So we can kind of get a little far afield with that Mars square Neptune. We're not really sure what we're doing, but we're pushing really hard to do it. So that can be a little bit tricky. So the other big thing that we're having this weekend, on Saturday, we have the Sun Venus Cazimi that happens at 18 degrees, almost 19 degrees of Capricorn. And so what that means is it's the midpoint of the Venus retrograde. She passes in front of the sun. She becomes renewed through her purification with the sun. And this can function a little bit like the midpoint of a Mercury retrograde, because what we get is this kind of place that we can have some revelations about what is at the heart of this Venus retrograde for us. So what we're letting go of, what we're processing, what we are remembering, right? We have this kind of moment of having a connection. And I noticed that when I talk about Venus and Venus retrogrades, there is my bias is to talk about it in mercurial terms, right? About insight and understanding and right, these kind of more cerebral things that we have going on. Venus is really here. It's really our bodies, our hearts, our felt sense of things. So it might not be right the like light bulb moment necessarily. It might be this felt sense. And right, in our culture, we don't really create a lot of space for the wisdom of the body, the wisdom of the heart. They're kind of considered like soft skills. And so that's what you might get, right? This connection. Yeah, I wouldn't push it too much on the intellectual front. I mean, obviously, you can channel that feeling into journaling, which can be really powerful. But right, Mercury is also in the shadow of its retrograde. So as long as you are not believing all of your thoughts, and really just taking them as helpful pointers and trying to translate your feelings into some understanding, that's really potent work to do this weekend. The Cazimis can be really, really powerful. And I think, right, having Venus sextile Neptune before and then the sun sextile Neptune afterwards, we can kind of negotiate that period of forgiveness or letting go or releasing the things that might be brought up during the Cazimi. And that's what we've got. I would hold this week kind of gently. All of the Neptune makes it a little bit slippery. We don't really know what's going on. We're still kind of moving from the dark part of the lunar cycle into the bright half. We'll have the first quarter on Sunday, and that will bring us into the busier, more embodied part of the lunar cycle, working up towards the full moon in Cancer that we'll be talking about next week. So I hope this was helpful. Feel free to like this video, to share it with anyone else you might think it would be helpful for. And I wish you Neptune transits that are full of creativity and inspiration and peace and release, and not delusion and confusion and more Mercury retrograde stuff. Mercury is going to station retrograde next Friday. So we're in the week before Mercury stations. And so we expect things to kind of get hairier until they come to a standstill next Friday. Okay. I hope you are well and having a good first week of this 2022.